Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Mahnaz, and I'm here to help mums who want to create an identity through the work they do without sacrificing family life. So today's episode is all about the life lessons that schools have missed for us mums in business. And I think this is such an important topic because we can also see this translating through in our children. Now we are more in touch with how we went through the schooling system and how our children are going through it, or perhaps have gone through it, then we can also see that sort of difference. But there are definitely key elements as a mum that we can look back and reflect on to see what was missing. And I think this is such an interesting topic. We need to have school serving a purpose for us and our children and the young people of the future. The school needs to be marrying up with the life lessons that are needed later in life. And whether or not you are going to be an entrepreneur, this is vital anyway. But if you want to have a successful business and run your own business, there are key things that we would certainly look back now and think, if we had known this, if we had learned this was important, and if we were taught it in such a way that we could find our way, then we could really manage the juggle of family life and business so much better. So this is what I want to talk about today. And I hope this is helpful in reflection, and also it will be really helpful for you to see how far you have come, because let's face it, we did not get those lessons at school. Now, there are things that would have really helped us set the foundations of how we actually operate. So, how we manage our time effectively, that is such an important skill to have. And as students, as even when we're younger in primary school, it's not something that is really focused on. And it is something that we certainly need, even through our student years. Many people will form different habits to get through that time. But was it the most effective for us? It's what we had to do to get through that time. But not understanding ourselves fully and how we could operate can really mean that we may have spent a lot more time than it was needed. And we may have tried things that just were simply not going to work for us. And we didn't have that support system or that kind of teaching and any kind of backbone of what we could have learned from. This can also help with our organization skills, because if we're trying to manage our time, obviously planning more effectively and being more organized is going to definitely help us manage our time better. But again, these are things that are never really spoken about. They're not mentioned. They're not explained to us what it even is and how different people can do things in a different way and more effectively or less effectively. Then on the other side, I think there's also this financial element that's always been at the back of my mind. It's certainly something I've seen in my children and felt I had to step up and explain things to them in a different way, because I knew they were not getting this from school. Things like financial planning, understanding the maths, understanding how much things cost, what expenses are, and how to even plan for this in our day-to-day life. Because we as children or as students have always had to manage our money. And then as entrepreneurs, it kind of goes to that level higher. There's also then an added thing with businesses, because you're looking to the future and you want to be able to forecast things. And I think these lessons are so vital, because if we don't understand how we can do any of these things, we're not living to our full potential. There are so many tools and techniques and things that could have helped us even way back then. And had we known those things, we would certainly have put them into our habits, created our life around those by adopting them early on, and perhaps even before we became mothers. It's crucial being a mum. You are doing so many things, multitasking. You are literally spinning all the plates. And although you're not actually working on everything at the same time. We do learn this skill of being a mum. And I think it's important to give some credit to the time that we have been a mum. We have had to upskill in those areas. We are able to think about different projects and different tasks and different things that we've done. And simply by being a mum, we've had to do that. We've had to work out how we are going to actually do the chores in the house that are essential, cook food for our young babies and children, um, help them eat that food as well, and feed ourselves, and do all the things that are necessary that we need to cram into one day. The way we do this is great, which is multitasking. We call it that, although really what we're doing is we're focusing on one thing and then we focus on another thing. But we're able to do this in a very different way than a typical dad perhaps would do. And that's understood with the brain and how it works and the difference between a male and female brain and thinking process. What we're effectively doing is spinning plates. What we're doing is setting one plate up, spinning, doing that, setting it up so that it can be spinning while we do something else, and then, doing all the things that need to be done so that everything is working for us. Now, in business, I just want to reflect on this, and I think this is somewhere that certainly has been one of the biggest learnings for me as a solopreneur and as a business owner, that carrying on doing those things in business is actually counterproductive. And it took me a long time to figure this out. And because in business, when you are really focused, and yes, of course, we have so many things on, we have so many things we need to focus on, but we have to let go of this multitasking and try and focus on one area, get that progress started and initiate and sort of try and get that to a place where we're happy with. Because unless we give it our full concentration and focus, we end up just being busy. And when we end up being busy, we don't actually complete things. We don't actually get to where we want to go because we are spreading ourselves. Effectively, we're spreading ourselves too thinly across too many things. So where you're spreading yourself too thin and what you can do to make that easier for yourself, to make that less intensive and more focused, because when we put more concentration into one area, we are putting all our time, energy and effort into that. Where attention goes, energy flows. And when we are giving our attention to so many things, we are not giving enough energy to that thing that we really want to make a successful. So I hope this episode's been useful. Where are you? Think about where are you doing something that you could change, you could reduce, you could effectively make a difference by actioning some sort of change for yourself. And if you're interested, I've got a free resource, 3 sneaky traps that mums in business fall into. I'll pop the link in the description below or in the notes for the podcast, and you can access this free. And this will give you another insight into things that you need to avoid, because there are things that we fall into doing and they kind of become a habit without us realizing it. So you want to make sure you are not doing any of these 3 sneaky traps that I mentioned. So that's your first thing that you can do if you're looking for a little bit more action on this. So I hope that's been helpful, and take care. I will see you in the next episode.